So in this tutorial, we're going to discuss some of the environmental factors which will affect tracking performance on mobile devices, the HoloLens and the HoloLens 2. Now, the way that Fologram keeps holographic information fixed in place as you move around it with your mobile or the HoloLens is by using tracked feature points that are visible to your mobile phone or HoloLens onboard cameras. And feature points are just points of high contrast that are unique. So features that the camera can see, things like corner points, like the corner of my laptop here, or maybe some of the corners of these keys, they could all be feature points that are being tracked by the camera as they move around in space and then used to estimate the pose of the mobile device or the HoloLens and render holograms accordingly. So optimal tracking really is created by ensuring that there are sufficient feature points to track within your workspace, that those feature points are unique, and that they're generally speaking visible to your device while you're running your augmented reality experience. There are several things which can affect tracking performance negatively in your environment. And the most common of these are black and reflective materials within your environment. So my desk is a piece of black form ply, it's reflective, and it's utterly terrible for tracking. So the default experience on mobile devices with this desk and with the HoloLens, which I'll show you in the next tutorial, is to experience quite a lot of hologram drift and jumps in hologram position due to complete tracking loss. And this is because the camera on the device is being confused by reflected light and the absence of any high contrast features on this black surface, which can be used to estimate the camera pose. Another common cause of poor tracking is moving objects within your space. So during a hologram experience, if you're moving objects around, whether those are things like large objects like a desk or something that you might be fabricating, or even small objects like sheets of paper which might have patterns that are picked up by the camera and used to track the camera position over time. If you move those around, you can very easily confuse the tracking data on your device and basically corrupt that data and reduce the effectiveness of it for estimating your device's camera pose. Moving objects can also include moving people within the space, especially if those people are relatively static and then they get up and move around. They could be being used to as tracking points on your mobile phone, and as they get up and move around, the mobile device or the HoloLens can have difficulty working out whether it's the motion of your mobile device which produced the motion in that tracked feature point, or whether the feature point itself moved. So it's best to avoid moving objects when you're creating augmented reality experiences where possible. Variable light conditions will also negatively affect tracking performance. Things like moving shadows or switching lights on and off are pretty bad for tracking because, again, moving shadows might produce moving feature points, and switching lights on and off might just simply reduce the visibility of feature points. So try to maintain consistent lighting conditions for optimal tracking. Working within large empty spaces can also be detrimental to tracking performance simply because of there being few visual feature points for tracking and estimating camera pose. Finally, poor tracking can be the result of poor user behavior. So it's very important if you want optimal tracking. So if you want holograms to be fixed in place reliably and for there to be very little jumping in hologram position or complete tracking loss, it's important to make sure that you build up a scan of your workspace by walking around in the area that you're going to be working within just for a couple of minutes with your mobile device, letting the camera build up a map of all of the features within that space in order to use that tracking data most effectively when you actually start the augmented reality experience. Similarly, if you think you might have moved objects within the space, you can prevent your tracking data becoming corrupt just by restarting the application on the HoloLens or on your mobile phone, walking around for a few minutes to rebuild the tracking data. and getting started again. So in the next video, we're going to look at how to visually verify hologram drift by comparing the position of a digital version of a physical object in our space, in this case, this black desk, just so we can very quickly see whether or not those two objects are becoming misaligned and work through some solutions to improving the reliability of hologram placement.